Hi, welcome to Chief's Orchid Rescue. I've had some great success rehabilitating dying orchids I adopted. I'm currently in possession of 7. When I received them, they were all either neglected or overwatered or underwatered. Pretty much the leaves were all withered and brown and dying. There was no stem. And I have some experience growing hydroponic habanero peppers using the Kratky method, which is soilless. It's just the roots growing in solution. So I kind of had that base foundation of knowledge of how to successfully grow plants. And pretty much with orchids, I just kind of use my intuition. And orchids are tropical plants and they do not grow in the soil. They grow on tree branches and in the canopy. And I just kind of imagined, like, what kind of environment do natural orchids like? So I Wikipedia'd, and they grow in the rainforest. So they're used to a lot of water, but they're not used to standing in a lot of water because they would get soaked and then the roots would drain. So the problem I found is people would either underwater or put them in a dark location where they're not getting enough light, and plants without light or water, they're pretty much toast. The third issue I found with most people is they overwater. So what happens, what I learned from the Kratky method, is if the roots are completely submerged in fluid, two things can happen. Either the roots will completely suffocate because, believe it or not, the roots actually extract oxygen from the air. So you need some portion of the roots to have access to air. So if they're completely submerged, the plants will drown. The second issue is having the roots stay too damp. And what happens is if the roots are sitting in water and damp for too long, it's a good habitat for mold to grow and diseases. So what you get is called root rot. And when the roots start rotting, the plant will also, will be struggling, and it won't be long before the plant dies. So I'm just going to give a quick video of how I water my orchids. Since I've adopted them, I've spent zero money. There's no sales pitch of what kind of food to buy. I've never actually applied food. They're still in their same potting soil, potting medium that they came in. Probably, I don't even know how old these are. So my mom said one of them's 16 years old. Some I've gotten, I know for a fact they're all at least 2 years old, and they're all probably somewhere in between that. And they're actually very hardy plants. So what I found, what works is getting it enough so the roots will soak and stay watered, but also the key point is letting the roots drain so the roots can air out and dry out so they won't mold up or they won't suffocate. And the method I do this is by just watering each plant just once a week, and that's all it takes. So I'll kind of show you how I do it. So if you can see this one, this is one of the prettiest ones I got from a coworker when it was dying. And it took about a year, and then the stems started sprouting back out. And then, as you can see now, it's in full bloom. It's very beautiful. So this is the pot that it came in, and then this is the medium that it actually came in. And as you can see, everything's the same. But one thing I did, I added spacers to the bottom. And they're not even real. They're just coffee creamer. But what that does is leave a gap to let air circulate, and if it doesn't if there's still water that drains a little slower, it won't leave the roots sitting in the liquid for it to start rotting. So this one has been watered, so what I do is pretty much just soak it and let it run in the sink for about 2-3 minutes, and then I let it sit out of the sink for 2-3 minutes and just dump the water and let it drain. So this is one of the more recent ones I got from my mom. You can see that it hasn't been watered in a week. And when they haven't been watered in a while, the roots they're called tendrils, will look pale and chalky or shimmery silvery. And then once they get hydrated, they kind of like green beans, they kind of turn green again. So my first thing I do is just spray down each of the tendrils. I don't know why, this is just how I just mentally, or how I how I just think about it. And what that'll do is rehydrate all the extremities, right? And it's not, you know, I don't know, I just like the idea of every part being, you know, soaked or rehydrated to some degree. Okay, so this is all it is. This is all I do to grow my beautiful orchids. I try to use medium water, so make sure it's not freezing cold, make sure it's not hot, absolutely not. Medium, lukewarm water, because once again, I try to think about the rainforest and what kind of water it likes. So it's really just love, just mindfulness. I mean, none of it is science, but the way I do it seems to work. So if you see, this is it. So this one's watered. And then you can see the water will drain out of the hole in the bottom, but it takes a little bit for it to completely drain out. So I'll just put it back in its tray, and in about 2 minutes, I'll drain it once again. And when I got this one, you know, the leaves were all dead. They were all yellow leaves that, you know, that fell off. And then since I got this maybe 2 months ago, you can see that a new leaf has sprouted. This one also, you can see, was in bad shape. It was all dying and brown, and you can see it's already grew this much. So that's all it takes. As you can see, if you just let it sit for a bit, the water will drain to the bottom. So all you gotta do is just take that water, dump it, and then just put it back in a window that gets decent light. So that's pretty much all I do once a week. Let's see, this one's beautiful. Nice fuchsia color. This is one that a friend got for a Mother's Day gift and was dying. So this one's named Carla. She's also very lovely. And that's all my tips were, but I'm just gonna ramble on. One thing I see a lot of parallels in plants and living a fruitful life. And in plants, you need 3 things. You need your roots in some medium, some type of soil, some type of sustenance or nutrition. And every plant needs water. If you don't have water, I mean, it won't be very long before they wither out and dry. And lastly, every plant needs light. So the metaphor that I always popped in my head, the earth or the medium or the soil is what it grows in, and it's kind of like the foundation of each person is. And whether that is your beliefs, your religion, your education, your morals, and I view that as the growing medium. And if you have a great foundation, you will be successful because you have everything that you need in life and it's already there. And I feel like the roots they gain the nutrition and they're the strength. Because if you have those core foundations in life, no matter what situation you are in, whether you're dried out or you're dying or you're diseased, as long as you have your roots, and as all these shown, all the leaves were dead, but they all had their roots. And even though they weren't in great shape, they all had their potting medium, they all had their foundation. And if you have your roots, you're grounded. And if you're grounded, no matter what, there's always the ability to grow back, because that, to me, I believe that is the core of the plant. The second thing plants need is water. Because if you do not have water, none of us can survive. I think a human can live two days without water, something like that. Is very, I mean, you'll die very quick. You can live without it for a month without food, but without water, I mean, I think it's like 2 days before you start going nuts. So water I view as kind of like food, or the stuff that we ingest into our bodies. And you can include alcohol, tobacco, you can include, food, beverages. And the thing about food is there's different qualities of food. And if you have good clean water, good clean food, it will facilitate growing a good healthy plant or a good healthy body. And the other, I guess, parallel with that is if you have too much food. I think there's this. I think the leading cause of death in the United States right now is heart disease. So if you're eating too much food, too much junk, I mean, think about all the people in the world that are dying of starvation. And it's a staggering number if you ever Google it. I mean, it's upwards of several thousand, maybe tens of thousands a day. Yet at the same time, in our privileged lives in the great United States, the leading cause of death is because we don't eat the right foods. I mean, me too, but I guess I eat the wrong foods in moderation. But point being, take care of your health, take care of your body, and what kind of substances you put in, because it is essential to a healthy life. And without the essentials, it's very easy to perish. And I feel the third key, I believe, is light. So light is the one that the metaphor was always kind of more difficult to kind of think about, but I believe light is love. And as cheesy as that sounds, light comes from the sun, and a lot of people in ancient religions and currently, they believe, whether that sun represents God, and God is love, or whether it's the love of your career, love of your profession, love of your family, love of your significant other, or love of your kids, love of your parents. I mean, even though you can get by without love for a certain period of time, like all these plants did, because they were all suffering because they were in low light and underwatered or overwatered. But as soon as I started watering them, giving them the right nutrition, and giving them love, which is the light, they all start to flourish. And I guess one of the tips is, I just Googled in the Northern Hemisphere, and the side of the house that receives the most amount of sunlight throughout the year is the southwest facing window. So I just went on Google Maps. I looked at which side of the building was southwest, and I put the plants in that southwest window, and they're all doing good. So if you have your roots and you're grounded in a nutrient-rich growing medium, that's one. If you have water, clean source of water and sustenance, but not too much that it's to the detriment of your body. And three, if you have light, and which is love, and which is what radiates and is able to help these plants thrive. Because like I said, no plant will grow without a medium to grow in. Fact, no plant will grow past a certain amount of time without water, right? But both plants and people can grow without the metaphoric growing medium or the metaphoric water, like my orchids have. Because you can see these were in bad shape once I got them, but they had their roots, and then once they start cleaning up their what was sustaining them, getting the right amount of water, and then lastly when they had a good amount of light, and then when that happens, you can see this plant is in full bloom. And look at that, it's just marvelous and fantastic. And look at this one. And that's all I did. All I did was make sure it had a growing medium, which it did. The roots were grounded. So all I did was make sure it got watered once a week, but not too much water, by letting the water completely drain. And three, I just found a window, which was the southwest facing window, that got an ample amount of light for these flowers to bloom. So metaphorically, I guess if you're down in the dumps, like I have been before, as long as you're grounded in your roots, just take care of your body, just make sure you get enough water, and then just find something you love. Or, I don't know, I'm just rambling. Siganme para más tipos de salud. Peace.